Hello there, welcome to Giselle Apparel. If today is your first time seeing our channel, we welcome you. A big thank you to all our returning subscribers. Thank you so much for sticking with us. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a very simple and beautiful crop kimono jacket. This tutorial is very detailed, beginner friendly, and very easy to put together. If this is a tutorial you are interested in, then do well to stick with us to the very end. Before we delve right into the details, don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, like our videos, comment, and then share the videos. Let's get right into the details. I'll be making use of 1.5 yards of African print fabric. You can make use of any fabric of your choice, but make sure that it is a cotton fabric so you can be able to hold the structure. I also have here a cotton lining fabric that I'll be using as a lining for the jacket. It's also 1.5 yards. Then I have here my interfacing. This is what I'll be using to stabilize my lining piece. So I'll be ironing the sticky part onto the lining piece so that it can give my jacket a bit of structure. This is the very soft type. It is not hard at all. So let's go ahead and then cut out our fabric pieces so we can stitch this jacket together. I have cut out 2 pieces of fabric on fold. This is the fold line here, and it is folded into 4 pieces. So I'll be cutting out both the front and the back of this jacket together. To determine the width of fabric you need to place on fold, divide your bust measurement by 4 and then add 3 inches to that. So when I divided my bust into 4, I had 9 inches, I added 3, and I have a width of 12 inches in all. And for the length of the fabric, from my shoulder to my waist, I have 17 inches. I added 2 extra inches to that to determine the length of the fabric. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down from the top of this fabric and then mark 1 inch across this fabric and join the point with a straight line. This is going to be serving as my shoulder line. On the shoulder line, I'll mark out 3.5 inches for my front neck width. Then I would go down by 3 inches for my neck depth for the front and connect both points with a curved line. If you have a curved ruler, you can use that to draw out this curve beautifully. For the back, I'll go down by 1 inch and then I would connect this to draw in my back neck. Afterwards, I'm going to input half of my shoulder length. I have a shoulder length of 13 inches, half of that is 6.5, and I would add in 1 inch for my ease. So in all, I'll be marking out 7.5 inches. Then I'll be sloping this shoulder by 1 inch. I will mark that and then connect from that slope back to touch my neck curve. The next I will do is to draw in my chest line. I'm going to be dividing my bust by 6 and add 1.5 inches. That is 7.5. Then because this is a jacket, I will be adding 1 inch for my ease as well. So in all, I'll go in by 8.5 inches for my chest line. I'll mark that and then rule a straight line across this. I would then input my shoulder length on this chest line and connect a straight line from the shoulder slope to touch my chest line. The next I'll do is to input my full length measurement for my jacket, which is 16 inches. That is my shoulder to my waist measurement, and then I would connect a straight line across. So I'm going to be dividing from my slope to my chest line. I'll divide that line into two. Then I'll mark the midpoint of this line. And I'll go in from that mark by 1/2 inch. Mark that as well. And connect a straight line to touch my shoulder slope. On the chest line, I'll input 1/4 of my bust measurement. I'm working with 9 inches, and then I'll add an ease of 2 inches to that. Mark that. And on the waistline, I'll mark 1/4 of my waist measurement, which is 7.5 inches. I'll add an ease of 2 inches to that as well. Mark that and connect a straight line from the waist to touch the chest line. So because this is a jacket, it is very important to add adequate ease so that this is not too tight. So I'm going to draw in my armhole curve. You can use your free hand to do this, but I'm going to be using a curved ruler for that. So I'm done drawing out my pattern for both the front and the back. The next I will do is to add in my seam allowances. On the shoulder, I'll be adding 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'll be doing 1/2 inch for the armhole area as well. I'll mark that across. Then for the sides, I will be adding seam allowance of 1 inch. And 1.5 inches for the hem of this jacket. On the neckline for the back, I'll be adding 1/2 inch seam allowance. We'll be cutting out the back piece first. Afterwards, we'll go ahead and then cut out the front pattern. So I'm done cutting out the back. I'll take out the back piece. Then on the front piece, I'll be adding seam allowances all around the neckline of the front, 1/2 inch. Then I'll cut this out to complete the front pattern. I'm marking out the wrong side of my fabric, then I'll go ahead and then separate the front pattern. So I'll cut it out. I'll be having 2 pieces for the front, one for each side of the front and a piece for the back. So I'll go ahead and cut out my lining pieces. Remember, we'll be fusing the lining pieces with our interfacing. So this is the lining pieces. I have fused it with the interfacing. This is what it looks like. I cut out 2 pieces for the front and then 1 piece for the back. So we are going to be joining these pieces of fabrics together. I'll align the lining pieces together, right sides facing each other. Then on the shoulders, I'm going to hold the shoulders down with pins. And I'll head to my sewing machine and then join the shoulders together on 1/2 inch. And I'll also be joining the sides together on 1 inch, the seam allowances we added to the pattern piece. So I'll stitch the sides together for the lining and repeat the same process for the main fabric as well. I'll pin the shoulders together as well and repeat the same thing for the main fabric. I'll join the shoulders down and then also stitch the sides down. So I'm done stitching the main fabric, and I've also stitched the lining. I opened up the seam allowances, I pressed it on my ironing table, and I repeated same for the lining. Open up the seam lines and then give it a good press on your ironing table. So the next thing I'm going to do is right side facing right side of the lining and the main fabric. I will just put my lining piece inside the main fabric, right sides facing each other. Place it inside, align the seams, align the necklines, the shoulder. It should fit into the main fabric. And then I will just pin the lining piece onto the main fabric. Make sure they are properly aligned so that this jacket can come out well. So I'll pin the neckline, pin the center front, and then pin the hem of the jacket, but I will not be pinning the armhole of the jacket. So pinning makes the stitching process easier. So it's important to just pin, hold everything in place before you stitch it down on the sewing machine. So if you are yet to subscribe to our channel, please hit on the subscribe button. We have very detailed and easy tutorials coming up in subsequent weeks which you do not want to miss. So I'm done pinning. Then I'll stitch the neckline down and stitch the center front down as well through to the neckline, stitch down, and then I'll also be stitching down the hem of this jacket. So I'll stitch every side down except the armhole. So I've stitched it down. This is what it looks like, and I also created tiny notches on the neck area to make this more relaxed. I left out the armhole area for both sides of the jacket. The next I'll do is to turn this jacket inside out. So I'll pull it out to the right side of the fabric. So this is what it looks like. I'll head to my ironing table and give it a good press. So I've pressed it. This is what it looks like. We are almost done. It's looking so beautiful. We are going to set this aside so we can work on the sleeve pieces for this jacket to complete our jacket. So for the sleeve, I have a fabric here on fold. This is the folded side and it's folded into two pieces. So I'll be cutting out one sleeve. From the top, I'm going to go down by 1.5 inches and then mark and then connect the point with a straight line. So I'll be using this sleeve pattern to cut out the second piece of the sleeve. I'll rule a straight line across, and then I would be inputting my cap height measurement, which is my bust measurement divided by 12 plus 1 inch, and I have a bust of 36 divided by 12. I had 3 inches plus 1 inch, and I added ½ inch for ease. And on this cap height line, we used 8.5 inches for my chest line. So on this cap height line, I'll input my chest line 8.5 inches, mark that, and connect a straight line from the top here to touch that mark we just made. The next I'll do is to divide this line into 2 equal parts. And from this mark, I'm going to go up by ½ inch, mark it. I'll use the curve ruler to draw in my sleeve head. I'll just smoothen my lines. So my sleeve length is going to be 9 inches. I'll mark that. I'll be adding in ruffles later to further increase the length of this sleeve. So I'll mark the sleeve length across. I'll measure what I have on the cap height line and then bring that down to the hem of my sleeve and connect a straight line to touch my cap height line this way. So I'm done with the sleeve. I'll add in a seam allowance of 1 inch on the sides of this sleeve, and then on the sleeve head I'll be adding in half an inch all around. So for this sleeve, because it's a kimono sleeve, I'm not going to be distinguishing between the front and then the back of the sleeve. That will not be necessary here. So I'm not going to be adding any seam allowances to the hem of this sleeve as well. The next I will do is to cut out my sleeve pattern. Remember, I'll be using this pattern to cut out the second sleeve. So I'll notch the midsection of this sleeve, and this is what the sleeve looks like. Let's go ahead and cut out the second piece of the sleeve. So I've cut it out. I have 2 pieces, one for each side of my jacket. The first thing I'm going to do is to fold in about 1/4 of an inch twice on the hem of the sleeve and stitch that down on my sewing machine. Then I will join the sides of the sleeve down. I'll be repeating the same process for the other sleeve piece. So I'm done. I have stitched the sleeve. This is what it looks like. And I have also pinned the sleeve, one of the sleeves, to the armhole of my jacket. I'm going to head to my sewing machine, and then I will join the second sleeve onto the jacket as well. I'll do that. I'll pin it so that it will make the work very easy. So I've stitched my sleeves down. My jacket is almost complete. The last thing I'm going to be doing is to create the simple ruffles I have on the hem of my sleeve. I measured round the sleeve hem, and then I cut out a piece of fabric, stitched it all around, and closed this piece of fabric. I have 2 pieces. This is what it looks like. Length of this piece of fabric is 4.5 inches, and then the width is also about twice the circumference of my sleeve. I'm going to form tiny pleats at the top of this piece of fabric. Then I would head to my sewing machine and then stitch this on the hem of my sleeve to complete the sleeve pattern. I'll be repeating the same process for the other sleeve as well. Draw in gathers or tiny pleats on the top of this fabric, and then I'll stitch it onto the sleeve, and we are done. This is what the jacket looks like. Thank you so much for making time to watch this tutorial. I hope you had fun making this with me. Do well to give it a try, and let's hear from you in the comment section. Thank you so much for making time to watch this video. We'll see you in our next tutorial.